Hello again everyone. I'm going to do a bit of a how-to card today using Bert and Gerts vintage ATT stamp set and just some of the images off of it, along with the ephemera pack and several of my other stamps that I've got in my stash. So this is the compass and date stamp set. I've got a circus one which I don't believe has actually been released, but I love the little ticket strip on it. There's also a little stamp type thing here that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the vintage French seaside stamp and the music and paint stamp. As you can see, I've already prepped the background of the card because this card takes quite a long time to make. I've mat and layered several layers of my papers from my stash with some ribbon and lace. I've also distressed all the edges and used vintage photo distress oxide just to give them a little bit of an edge, and I've already stamped out lots of the ephemera and prepared some of the ephemera from the pack because I think you'd be bored watching me stamp all this out and distress it. I will show you how I distress my bits. I've got this poster from the vintage seaside set, and all I've got is, this is a thread cutter, and I use this because it's got lots of tiny little blades all the way around, and you just scratch it on the edge of the card to make it a bit rough. And just quickly go around all four edges of this, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of distress oxide, the vintage photo distress oxide, using a sponge dauber. So just quickly round the edge with one of my applicators. Just gives it that little bit of finish, and I'm also just going to rub it across, lightly across the stamped image, just to dull the cream paper down a little bit. Now, having got all my bits, this is from the ephemera pack. I've cut one of the ladies out because I didn't want all the background on it as well. There's this from the ephemera pack and a couple of maps I'm going to add on here. As you can see, I stamp loads. I'm probably not going to use it all because I think I've got way too much here, but I'd rather have too much prepared than not enough. So let's see how we're going to start with this. Just need to tip those little loose bits off from where I distressed that piece. And I've got I'm going to use a mixture of Pinflag glue gel and Collal, just normal glue, just to stick things down. But I'm going to start, as I've got no real plan at the moment, I'm going to start looking at where I might put things before I start gluing it down. Some of these ephemera bits I might end up cutting in half. I'm not sure yet. Let's tuck that in there. I've got some tickets which I'm going to just tuck in there. I quite like this stamp. I want this stamp to stand out a bit more, so I'm going to put that. But I want it at a slightly different level, so I might move that up. So I want lots of different layers and levels. I might put a watch there. Want some more tickets. I'm going to put them along there, and then they'll be hidden. The end will be hidden. There's some gorgeous little postcards in amongst the stamps, so I'm going to definitely be using them. I want a different shape just to give it. Right, I think I'm happy with what I'm using. I might put a couple of hands on at the end. So those are surplus to needs. Now I'm just going to take it all off again and start with what I think is the bottom layer, which is going to be this one. So a bit of glue on the bottom. I'm going to stick it just slightly in from the edge and just catching the edge of the ribbon. The tickets are going to go this way and about here. Then I think the map of France, just a bit of glue, Because these are the bottom layer, I don't want them too high, because otherwise you'll end up with a very deep card, which is going to cost way too much to post. In fact, this is probably a card you wouldn't post. It's probably a card that you would deliver yourself. To have that coming up to the tickets. Now I'm going to stick my lady on next, and then I can arrange things under her. I'm just going to give her a bit of shaping by just bending the paper a little bit. And this is where my collal glue, my pin flare glue comes in. And I'm not very generous with my glue. Just 3 little dots down the middle will hold it in place. So I want her covering a lot of the join. Then I also shape some of the posters and things, give them a bit of a shape. I'm going to add a couple of blobs of pin flare glue to the back of this one. And I'm going to slot it in behind her a little bit so that her shoulder hides the corner, but I can still see the tickets and a bit of the map. Poke it down a bit. I'm going to shape my little, I'm not sure what it is, label or something from one of the stamp sets. Just a little blob of glue in the middle of it. And I want that just under her hands. Just there to give it a bit of shape. And I'm going to take the watch, the old-fashioned watch. And I think that's just going to tuck in there. As you can see, I've changed it slightly to what I planned when I put it down first time. I always find to do that. I make a plan and then I never stick to it. Like this, I'm just going to tuck under here. Put it in a little bit more than that. So I'm trying to go for lots of different edges so that they're not all regimental. I don't like regimental at all. And now I've got this gorgeous little postcard, which I'm going to add some glue to and just tuck it in behind her shoulder and behind the clock watch. Then I've got these 2 hands, one pointing one way and one pointing another. I think I'm going to add one there and one here. I'm going to use the pin flare glue again to just to raise them up a little bit. Don't want to hide the butterfly that's on the paper. I'm just going to have that pointing up slightly off of that piece. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this card, and I hope it's given you some inspiration on how to make a vintage card. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.